Good afternoon and a special welcome to viewers joining us on CP24. It was a National Historic Site, a house of worship for generations of Anglicans. Today, it is in ruins.
St. Anne's Anglican Church was destroyed by a 4-alarm fire that broke out just before 8 yesterday morning. Firefighters working throughout the day to save the building and its contents. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live from the scene with the very latest. Raheem.
Nathan and Michelle, good afternoon. That designation of a National Historic Site you mentioned was given to the church in 1996. The area in and around the church right now continues to be cordoned off. Fire crews are still here on scene. Now, since we've been here in the morning, we've actually had people come up to us wanting to share their connection with St. Anne's Anglican.
The four walls are all that are still standing, while the roof, iconic dome, and everything inside St. Anne's Anglican Church have burned to the ground.
63 years ago on June the 3rd, we were married in that church.
We live 10 minutes walk away, and I knew a lot of the priests and rectors who were in charge here, and it's a big loss.
Sunday morning, flames and thick black smoke ripped through the historic place of worship, which had stood since 1908. Well before Sunday service, no one was inside and there were no injuries. By mid-morning, the body of the fire had been doused, but not before destroying the building and the artifacts inside.
When I heard that there was a fire, I was hoping, that it would be small, maybe in a basement, in a part of the church that doesn't affect the artwork and the priceless things that have been lost. So it's very, very devastating.
Murals and priceless works of art created by members of the Group of Seven were being housed in the church. They're the only known religious works painted by the revered Canadian collective.
It was gold all over the entire church, up on the sides and the altarpiece. Absolutely gorgeous art. And my choir has sung in there. It had incredible acoustics.
For Toronto's Little Portugal neighborhood, the church signifies more than just prayer. It's a community, and that togetherness will continue, even if not inside the historic building for now.
I'm going to remain present near the church. We got a great neighbor down the street that runs a coffee shop, and they said, I can be there, so I'm going to meet with people there. I'm going to be out in the community, walking around. People can come talk to me. The church is still going.
Keeping the church's spirit alive while vowing to rebuild.
Now, just over an hour ago, we saw members of the church actually walking with vestments and about a pile of documents which do not appear to be burned, and so it looks like some of the items may have been salvageable. Again, the cause of the blaze, investigators say it's still too early to say what the cause was. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. And 2 homes have been damaged in a fire in Forest Hill. Firefighters were called to a semi-detached home on Lonsdale Road around 12:30 overnight. When they arrived, they found smoke and flames coming from the upper floors, which spread to the roof. The fire then spread to the adjoining home and was upgraded to a 3-alarm. The blaze is now under control. No reports of injuries and no word on the cause of this fire.
The polls are open in Mississauga, where voters will elect a new mayor today.
The mayoral by-election called after Bonnie Crombie resigned to take the leadership of the Ontario Liberal Party. Crombie among the Mississauga residents casting a ballot this morning. CTV Sean Lee Thong is live in Mississauga with more on Election Day. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, this is really unique for the city of Mississauga. It's the 3rd largest city in the country, but most people here can't remember a time where there hasn't been an incumbent or the previous mayor hasn't endorsed a candidate, and right now it's a dead heat. Election Day in Mississauga as voters head to the polls to choose the city's next mayor.
My message today is to encourage everyone to get out and vote, because in municipal elections, the turnout is notoriously low. It was less than 22% in the last general election. So today the message is, please get out and vote.
This morning, the woman who triggered this election, former Mayor Bonnie Crombie, who resigned to move into provincial politics, cast her ballot in Port Credit. But the new leader for the provincial Liberals is not endorsing a particular candidate.
We've only had 4 mayors, Martin Dobkin, Ron Searle, Hazel McCallion for 36 years, myself for a decade. And so today you're choosing a mayor that will kick off the next 50 years of Mississauga's history.
The latest polls showing a dead heat for the city's top job between Carolyn Parrish, Topeka Demerla, and Alvin Tejo, with Stephen Dasco and Brian Crombie not far behind.
I'm feeling very confident. No, our advanced poll stuff was good. Everything seems to be fitting out, fitting in the way we want it to.
I woke up this morning and, it took me a second, of course, I go, oh my God, today's election day. So yes, lots of momentum, lots of energy.
Supporters for Deepika Demirla were out early this morning trying to push their candidate over the line, while Alvin Tejo cast his ballot this morning as well.
I'm so excited about today. We've got so many voters around the city of Mississauga who are really eager and ready for change. They want to come out and vote. I've gotten hundreds of messages this morning of people who are encouraging us and really, really positive about the day.
Voters have until 8 o'clock tonight to vote, with many trickling in through the morning, but it's hard to say who they're voting for.
I'm voting for Alvin Tejo. I think he's going to be a good man. I think he understands the issues.
With 8 hours left, it's really anyone's race.
And when it comes to a race like this, you heard Bonnie Crombie say that turnout has typically been very low. It could come down to who gets their supporters out to the polls, because we know it's such a tight race that every vote certainly counts. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean. Still to come, U of T still hoping that talks with pro-Palestinian protesters will put an end to an encampment. We'll have the latest this half hour.
But first, we take a look at the forecast. Not much in the way of sunshine to start the day today. Lots of cloud and it feels chilly in the air. This is a day where you might want to grab a little bit of a coat because there's a breeze. Michelle Jobin is here with a look at the current conditions. Not too warm to start.
Not too warm at all, Michelle. In fact, we're looking at our high today, our projected high trending about 6 degrees below our normals. As you mentioned, a bit of a breeze as well, and that's a big factor. A little bit of sunshine earlier today, less of it as we get into the afternoon. As we take a look at our current wind speeds, they are from the northwest, always tapping into a cooler pool of air. And then when we factor in the gusts, which in the Toronto area right now are around 31 kilometers an hour, it's definitely making things feel a little bit chilly. And we're already still at, or only still at 13 degrees at the islands, 12 at Pearson with that breeze. We're hoping for 17 degrees as our high today with I would say mostly cloudy conditions into the afternoon. Don't worry, we do have summer-like weather and heat returning into the forecast this week. I'm going to tell you when that's expected coming up. Back to you, Michelle.
All right, thank you, Michelle. The union representing thousands of frontline TTC workers is releasing terms of the framework it reached to avoid a strike last week. ATU Local 113 says the contract proposal includes a more than 13% wage increase over 3 years. The union says it also comes with protections against contracting out and improved benefits. The tentative agreement was struck last Thursday, shortly before the deadline for a strike that would have seen more than 11,000 TTC employees walk off the job and snarl transit service.
Now to the pro-Palestinian encampment at the U of T, where the university is still trying to negotiate an end to the protest. The president of U of T has offered measures that are more comprehensive than other institutions were where protests have been called off. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live with more on this. Beth.
Nathan, protesters from the encampment are meeting right now to prepare a formal statement to the university. A press conference has been held for 2:30 p.m. this afternoon, and it's going to be a response to a statement this institution's president put out late yesterday afternoon, saying in part the proposal we have made is commensurate with or more comprehensive than the agreements that have resolved encampments at peer institutions. Unfortunately, the encampment participants have rejected this proposal. This encampment on the University of Toronto campus has been continuing now for close to 40 days. There are more than 170 tents at King's College Circle. And Michelle, Nathan, both sides appear to be standing their ground. The university says it wants a peaceful resolution while seeking an injunction to remove them at the same time. That injunction is expected to be heard in court June 19th. Meanwhile, the protesters tell me today they will continue to be here until the university meets their needs. That means to disclose and divest from Israel. The university says in response to any claims regarding military action in Gaza, its response remains the same. Such claims have no basis in fact. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. We have an update from police on arrests made at a pro-Palestinian rally outside the U.S. consulate on Saturday. 4 people were arrested after demonstrators were painting the streets and others were covering it up with a large flag. Police say officers were placing a suspect under arrest and other demonstrators attempted to intervene, with one person assaulting an officer. Alyssa Gale's been arrested for mischief and damage to property. Elif Shireen faces a count of obstructing a peace officer and assaulting a peace officer. Brandon Sharp and Humza Taufik were both arrested for obstructing a peace officer.
The 55th annual UJA Walk with Israel took place in North York on Sunday. A record 50,000 people took part in the 5-kilometer walk in support of the Israeli and Jewish community. A festival was held following the walk at UJA's Sherman campus. A significant police presence was seen at the event over concerns about protesters clashing with participants. Police say 6 arrests were made at the event, but they did not provide any further details on what led to the arrests or if any charges have been laid. No injuries were reported.
The driver of a transport truck that crashed in the collector lanes of the eastbound 401 Sunday morning has been charged with impaired driving. OPP say that around 7 a.m., the transport truck hit a barrier and jackknifed on the highway, blocking all lanes at Leslie. The lanes were closed for several hours.
And a woman is facing several charges, including impaired driving following a hit and run on the eastbound QEW. The OPP sharing images of an SUV with front-end damage and airbags deployed. They say a 22-year-old woman crashed into another vehicle at Mississauga Road, but kept driving. The woman was eventually stopped in Toronto and arrested. She's also facing weapons and drugs charges. The Edmonton Oilers dropped the first game of the Stanley Cup final over the weekend.
And tonight, Oiler fans are hoping for a big comeback against the Florida Panthers. All right, we're going to be joined live by CTV's Paul Hollingsworth in Florida and joins us now with more on this. It must be nice to be in sunny Florida. However, the Oilers did lose Saturday, but played pretty well. It must still sing.
Yeah, I tell you, Nathan, a lot of optimism coming out of a Game 1 loss because of how they lost. One could argue that it's not a sustainable trend for the Florida Panthers to get outplayed every game and have their goaltender, Sergei Bobrovsky, steal the game, which in effect he did in Game 1. So a bit of optimism, a bit of bounce by the Oilers. They feel they played the right way, and they feel if they keep playing this way, they will be fine. Can also tell you that talking to some of the fans post-game and yesterday, they pointed out that this team found a way to come back when trailing earlier in the playoffs against Vancouver and Dallas, which makes them a little bit tested when it comes to the adversity of the moment. So being down one game early in this series for this team and this fan base, not a huge deal, not a huge pressure point, at least at this moment.
Wow. Are you seeing many Canadian fans down there?
Quite a few, and it's really actually kind of cool to see. I've bumped into Oilers fans wearing jerseys decked out with the colors of their favorite team. Oilers fans from Newfoundland, from Nova Scotia, from Prince Edward Island, from New Brunswick. Met some from Guelph, Ontario 2 nights ago. And of course, scores and scores and scores from Alberta and Western Canada. If I had to put an estimate, I would say there are 2,000 or 3,000 Oilers fans down here. Some of them are going to the game. Some of them are coming down just to enjoy the experience and watch the game outside this arena as part of the Fan Fest on the big screen. So they're depriving themselves the opportunity of getting in to see the game, but they still want to be here for the experience to cheer their team on. So interesting. We associate larger fan bases, those national fan bases, with being teams like Montreal and Toronto, but Edmonton is showing us that they have a national fan base that is traveling far distances in large numbers to come cheer their team on. It is a pleasure to hang out with them. They are fun to be around and easy to cheer for this fan base because they're having a very good time cheering on their Oilers.
It is a great place to watch the game. They've also got so many things going on outside. What about ticket prices? Can you get a good deal?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, I think, let me answer the question this way. If it was the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens or the New York Rangers or the Los Angeles Kings, I would submit to you that those tickets would be prohibitively expensive, especially on secondary markets. A little more affordable here. We're hearing tickets at or around $1,000 for some of the price points, probably some higher than that, some lower than that. But on the affordability scale, we're hearing numbers that won't knock your socks off when it comes to the amount of money people are paying to get in. And I think also, just from a general affordability standpoint, people that we're talking to find this to be an affordable place to travel to when it comes to the price for hotels, the price for food, etc., to mix in that sports tourism aspect to their game playoff experience. So much more affordable here, it seems, than it would be compared to other hockey markets.
Yeah, I know a lot of Leaf fans head down there to watch games there too. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth in Florida. Thank you.
Back here at home today, the Liberal government plans to take the first legislative step towards increasing the inclusion rate on capital gains. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland made the announcement yesterday during a visit to a local community center here in the city. Freeland says the Liberal government will start the legislative process by tabling a Ways and Means motion in the House of Commons. This motion is the first step needed before the tax change legislation can be tabled.
All Canadians will continue to pay no capital gains tax at all when they sell their principal residence. Any money you make on the sale of your home is yours to keep. Second, the tax changes do not apply to the first $250,000 of capital gains every single year.
In Calgary, residents are being urged to continue water conservation efforts as crews work to fix a burst water main.
While you used, again, preliminary figure 457 million liters, the supply that we had available is 620 million liters. That's as of this morning. This is a comparison to yesterday, where the use was 440 million liters and the availability was 626 million liters. So you can see that you're using much less than what we have in the supply. Please keep this up.
Last Wednesday's burst disrupted water supply to thousands of homes. Over the weekend, crews managed to clear enough water to access the site, but repairs are expected to take days. Water has since been restored to Calgary, but officials say the supply is still limited. People are being asked to continue such measures as limiting shower times, use of dishwashers, and sprinkler systems.
The UN Security Council will vote today on a U.S. drafted resolution backing a proposal outlined by Joe Biden for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The Americans finalized the text yesterday after 6 days of negotiations among the 15-member council. To pass, a resolution needs at least 9 votes in favor and no vetoes. The U.S. president introduced a 3-phase ceasefire plan on May 31st that he described as an Israeli initiative. The resolution welcomes the new ceasefire proposal, which the U.S. says Israel accepted. It also calls on Hamas to accept it and urges both parties to fully implement its terms without delay or condition.
The U.S. Secretary of State arrived in the Middle East today seeking approval for that ceasefire proposal. Antony Blinken met with Egypt's president in Cairo later, saying that his message to governments in the region is to press Hamas to say yes. He said Hamas was the only side that had yet to agree to the ceasefire plan. But ahead of his trip, Israel said it is committed to total victory. And Hamas says Washington must push its ally Israel to halt the fighting. Blinken has now moved on to Israel, where he's meeting with the prime minister there.
France's president has called a snap election, a legislative election, after his party suffered a heavy defeat in elections for the European Parliament. Emmanuel Macron is dissolving the National Assembly, making way for a vote on June 30th and July 7th. This move is a political gamble for the president and follows projected results yesterday that put a far-right party well ahead in the EU's parliamentary election. There were similar results in some other European countries.
In Vienna, an Austrian Airlines plane landed safely after hitting a thunderstorm cell. The aircraft ended up being damaged from hail, and the top of the cockpit was also bent, and glass in the windows of the cockpit cracked. The plane is also now being checked for specific damage assessment. Yesterday's storm was not visible on weather radar. Now, the airline says a Mayday emergency call was made during the flight from Palma to Mallorca, Spain.
In Ohio, a driver is safe after his truck plunged into a sinkhole. This happened in the community of Fairlawn. The driver of the city public works vehicle had to climb out and pull himself to safety. Crews were eventually able to lift the truck out of that sinkhole and tow it away. There's no word on what caused the big crater to open up. Roads in the area were closed while crews investigated. There was also a water main break in the vicinity.
It started out as a bad day for a puppy named Zeus in Eloy, Arizona. His adventures landed him with his head stuck in a tire rim. Luckily, a firefighter was able to calm Zeus down long enough to free him from his unwanted accessory. The rescuer even took some extra time to perform a special puppy medical exam. and it looks like the curious canine is going to be just fine. Good to know.
Very good to know and extra cute. Okay, if you're heading out today in the afternoon or even into the early evening, I would definitely suggest, as Michelle did earlier, a sweater or maybe a light jacket because we're trending below seasonal. It's a little gloomy out there as well. Let's take a look. Should you wanting to be wanting to head out for an evening stroll later on, we might get a few clearer breaks as we get past 5 o'clock. But in general, mainly cloudy. We'll still have that breeze out of the northwest at 20 kilometers an hour, and 17 degrees is as warm as we're projected to get. I'll let you know when that summer-like warmth returns coming up in your full forecast.
An all-new week is upon us in June, and it's definitely fresher and cooler today. My kids were complaining, I'm freezing, I want a coat, but I figured it's going to warm up a little bit by the afternoon. I don't know. What was it too cold for you today?
It was chilly. Like I almost always wear shorts throughout the entire summer, including the month of June, but today I couldn't. So I had to wear, track pants and a jacket because it's just chillier. And yesterday we had all that rain, and I'm hoping things get better.
It will get better, but we're still, as you said, it's quite fresh. That's a positive spin on things, but we're still sitting in those lower double digits right now. By the time we get past Wednesday, it's definitely going to feel much more like summer again. So I'll tell you more about that. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. So definitely a cool and mostly cloudy start to what will continue to be a cool and mostly cloudy day in the city of Toronto. This is our CTV News helicopters view from earlier this morning. You can see a few spotty showers there. It's possible that you'll still see those later in the afternoon, but for the most part, we're looking at cloudy conditions today. If you are missing summer-like heat, as I mentioned, don't worry, it is going to build back in. In fact, we'll likely be seeing some thunderstorms, which are very summery by the end of the week, but certainly building heat and humidity. So let's just take a look at how we're doing in terms of temperatures around the regions. I mentioned most of us being, especially here in the GTA, in those low double digits, and that's where we are. Just 12 degrees at Pearson Airport right now. I think we're about a degree better at the Island Airport, sitting around 13. A little more warmth for us in parts of Eastern Ontario, 16 degrees in Trenton, and of course in extreme Southwestern Ontario, 14 degrees in Windsor. For perspective, where we should be hitting around this time of the year, 23, 24 degrees in the GTA. So we're well below that, 67 degrees below what our normals or averages are for this time of the year. So 17 degrees is our projected high. If you are east of the GTA, very likely that you'll be picking up a little bit more rainfall. We're a little bit more unsettled there, for example, in Kingston. That should clear out by the time we get to this evening. And you'll see more clear breaks as we get through the overnight period. As you can see, we've got partly cloudy conditions through the overnight. But look at these temperatures for areas like Goderich, Owen Sound, Perry Sound. It's going to be quite brisk through the overnight period with those single-digit lows. Satellite and radar imagery showing up towards Bancroft down through Kingston. Those showers right now, few clearing breaks here and there, but mostly cloud cover. That twist of low pressure off to the east of us. We've got this trough line in place. High pressure starting to push in for tomorrow, and that's going to bring us clearer skies gradually into Wednesday. So setting your forecast radar into place, mostly cloud cover that I'm showing you of varying degrees, but more rather than less through the next 24 hours. Then we start to get some clearing Tuesday and then especially overnight into Wednesday. I don't think we'll pick up any showers on Wednesday here in the GTA, maybe more to the southwest and east of us. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. After 17 degrees today, 20 for Tuesday. That's an improvement. It's 10 degrees through the overnight, so not too bad. 23 and sunshine for Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, we've got humidex values that are into the 30s, so it's a little bit more unsettled. It's a little bit more muggy. We could see showers and thunderstorms, but highs in the upper 20s, and we get more sunshine on the way for the weekend. Back to you, Michelle.
Like the looks of that. Thank you, Michelle. A new study is providing some hope to people with early signs of dementia as well as their families. Researchers studied dozens of people with early Alzheimer's over a 5-month period. One group was required to change their diets, exercise habits, and social routines, while the other was not. The results showed people who did make those lifestyle changes either saw cognitive improvements or no change in their status. People who didn't take part in the changes saw declines in those measures. The findings were published Friday in the European Heart Journal.
The federal government is proposing a raft of changes to cannabis regulations as producers call for fewer regulatory burdens. The regulations put forward include packaging changes like permitting more use of color and cutout windows so buyers can see the product before purchasing. Proposed updates also apply to reporting requirements. Health Canada said the changes will mean about $41 million in annualized net benefits in terms of administrative and compliance cost savings.
Canada's largest railroad is bracing for potential job action. Union members at Canadian and National Railway in recent days rejected an offer to enter into binding arbitration on a new collective agreement. CN says it has put forward proposals that have been rejected. Teamsters Canada says the offers are disingenuous and binding arbitration could be avoided. The federal labor minister has asked the Labor Board to review whether a work stoppage would jeopardize Canadians' health and safety. A decision isn't expected until mid-July.
Microsoft is scaling back plans for a new AI-powered upgrade to Windows that critics said posed a privacy concern. Among the new offerings outlined by Microsoft in recent weeks was a feature called Recall. It will use AI to give users access to the state of their screen at any specific point in the past. Now, after a backlash, the company said Recall won't be turned on by default and will be only available as an opt-in.
Norway's $1.7 trillion U.S. sovereign wealth fund says it'll vote against a new package for Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Musk was given a pay package worth $56 billion back in 2018, but it was invalidated by a Delaware judge. The fund holds just under 1% of Tesla's shares and said it was concerned about the total size of the award and other issues. Musk said on X the plan to vote against his pay was, quote, not cool, and he suspects constituents in the fund would support him. It's supposed to be a time of celebration for thousands of students across the province who are starting university in the fall.
But for many incoming first years at the University of Guelph, they're dealing with additional stress and frustration after another issue with resident space. CTV's Jeff Pickle has more on the issue.
It's a dream for many students and their parents.
It's fantastic. All parents worry about the children getting to university.
Years of hard work finally paying off.
My daughter is an extremely hard worker and has known the profession of what she wants to study in since she was 3.
But now many of those students and their families feel betrayed after finding out the first-year residence rite of passage is not guaranteed.
Everyone was like cheering, happy, like he got into the program he wanted. But then it's like after you get that high, it's kind of like, oh, wait, it's like we don't have a place to live.
According to numerous families who reached out to CTV by email, many students have been put on a wait list.
And there seems to be hundreds and hundreds of parents that are online livid at this whole thing because of the way the communication was put out.
According to the U of G website, using a randomly generated number, we will continue to send out ongoing resident confirmations to students up until the June 3rd deadline. Residence is not guaranteed. Parents we spoke with say they feel misled.
I don't want to say lied to, but the tour guide shouldn't have told us that there would be no problem.
They tell us communication with the university has been poor, leaving them with little idea about what's going on.
But they will never tell us how many people are on that wait list. So for me to be saying, okay, I might be sitting at 87 or 187, but out of how many students, I don't know.
For Laura's daughter, U of G was the one and only choice, but others had options that they have now seen disappear.
He got accepted to pretty much every single university that he applied for with guaranteed residences. If we knew this sooner going in, now that it's past the deadline, we probably would have chosen a different place to go. So it's basically too late. He can't go anywhere. He's stuck.
Parents say there is also a major financial implication, looking for expensive off-campus housing that they might not even need.
So now we're kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what to do, where to get the funds to do that, because living off campus is is more expensive.
Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Guelph.
Still to come on CTV News at noon. Ever wonder what your dog was trying to say when it's barking? Now there's an app for that. We'll tell you about the new tool that claims to decipher the language of dogs. Have you ever had one of those moments when your dog barked at you and you just couldn't figure out what they were trying to tell you? Well, thanks to AI, there may soon be an app for that. For more, we're joined by CTV science and technology specialist Dan Riskin. We've kind of seen some of this technology sometimes in movies. You know, you never think about Scooby-Doo as a speculative science fiction, but here we are. What is the latest on deciphering dog language? Is this really a potential reality?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you think about what we can do now with our phones to talk to other people. Like, you could go to Italy, put your phone between you and someone else. You speak English, they speak Italian, and the phone will translate everything in real time. And it's amazing what we can do. But with dogs, that doesn't exist yet. And so this is what researchers have been trying to do. They took a library of about 8,000 dog barks where they knew not only which dog was barking, but also what it was barking about. Is it excited because its owner came home? Is it mad because there's another dog walking by? Is it excited because it's playing with a ball? What is the context? What does the bark sound like? And then from that, they try to create a app that will basically tell you what a dog is saying when it hears a new bark. And they did this and they tested it, and it got about 62% accuracy, which isn't really amazing. That, you know, basically it can give you as much context as you'd probably be able to get from just listening to the bark. But it was able to tell you the sex of the dog with 70% accuracy. And I don't think anybody could tell what sex a dog is from the bark. So there's clearly more information there that the AI can get out, and we'll see if these models improve so that we can finally understand exactly what Fido's trying to tell us.
Wow, that's incredible. To another study now, it has been noted that when women are pregnant, there's a lot of attention that gets paid to the mom, whether they're staying healthy. And it seems that some think maybe dads get a free pass. But there's a new study that suggests a man's health before conception might play a role in the health of a child. How is that possible? What's involved here?
Yeah, I mean, what we generally just think of the father's contribution is completely genetic. I mean, sperm are just these little wrappers for DNA, and that's about it. But it turns out that the health of a dad does correlate with the health of the child as they grow up. If you have an overweight dad, you're more likely to have an overweight child, even if you control for the health of the mom. And so what is the link there? Researchers were trying to figure that out. They took a bunch of mice, fed some of them a ton of sugar, fed other ones not as much sugar, and then they looked to see which genes were expressed in the sperm and in the baby mice that came from them. And what they found is that there are a bunch of genes that do get turned on if there's a lot of sugar in the body before conception, and those genes are still active in the babies that develop. And so this really is a mechanism by which a father's health before conception could influence the health of the child. And so dads don't get a free pass anymore. Now they have to be healthy too.
You know what? Being healthy is never a bad thing for all involved,
Exactly.
whether you're having kids or not. Dan, let's talk about when an artist makes something beautiful, but then we learn about their actions outside of music, and then we ask, can we really separate the art from the artist? Is it okay to enjoy the music of Kanye West or to laugh at the comedy of Bill Cosby when we know about their characters? There's this new study that suggests that even if we wanted to, we're wired in such a way that we can't even ever look at the art without that context going forward. Tell us about this study.
Yeah, this is a really important study, I think, because this is a conversation that comes up more and more. And some people like to sort of wave their arms out and say, well, it's cancel culture and it's all terrible. But there's no question that sometimes artists are doing things that are abhorrent. And you really do find yourself in this conundrum about whether it's okay to enjoy the art that they've made maybe before that or since that or whatever. It's a big conversation. This study took a bunch of people, showed them art, and gave fictional biographies to the art so that the people seeing the art really believed that this went with an artist, and then they read about what this person had done in their lifetime, and then they were asked to rate the art, and they were told, rate the art, don't pay attention to what the artist did, just rate how much you like the art. And they found two interesting things. One, when people know something bad about the artist, they like the art less. But the second thing, which I think is very interesting, is that when the artist had this bad rap sheet, when you knew bad things about the art generated more of an emotional response. Maybe it was the leftover emotional response to those negative actions, but in the name of art, that is a big piece of it. And so it's actually quite complex. We might disapprove of the actions of somebody, but it might actually have this subconscious effect that it makes us more aroused by the art and therefore more likely to remember it better.
And tech specialist Dan Riskin, we've learned a lot over the past 3 minutes. Thank you.
Well, owning a dog or a cat in Canada has become so expensive, many are being forced to give up their animals. But shelters are also grappling with the new reality linked to the affordable housing crisis.
It's hard enough to find a home, let alone one that is pet-friendly. CTV's Christine Long has more.
Dobby the elf Sphinx house cat needs a home. Currently, she's living with Kimberly Kotar, a foster volunteer with Chatopia Cat Rescue. Kotar says cat care can cost a lot.
Vet care is more expensive, the food is way more expensive, and we have a special niche, it's purebreds. And purebreds usually have a lot more health issues.
Murray is healthy, but he's looking for a home too.
Murray's 10 months old. He's an elf Sphinx. He doesn't have any medical issues, but his family couldn't keep him because they're moving.
Moving is a big reason people surrender their animal to the SPCA, says Executive Director Laurence Massé.
We receive around 30 animals monthly, where in July we double that number. Just for July, just for that reason.
Massé says the shelter is already full.
We have around 100 cats here at the shelter right now. We have around 40 dogs as well, and around 50 small animals such as bunnies and rats and mice.
Pet overpopulation is a problem, and Massé says getting your pet spayed or neutered is very important. The SPCA was called to a house recently where 2 cats had been taken in during the pandemic, and within 3 years...
And we went to that house and we got 97 cats. None of them were sterilized, and it was like overpopulation.
And she's worried that moving season means even more animals with no place to call home. Christine Long, CTV News.
In sports, the Toronto Blue Jays needed extra innings to win their series against Oakland yesterday.
Hit a line drive guy. And he has lined it up the alley in left center field all the way to the wall. Here comes Bichette. Here comes Clement. Here comes Varsho. And IKF has cleared the bases.
The Jays have now won 4 of their last 5 games. They begin a series in Milwaukee tonight.
And moving on to the PWHL's Walter Cup champions host the league's second entry draft tonight in Minnesota. More than 160 players from 19 countries have declared themselves eligible for the draft, but only 42 of them will hear their name called through the 7 rounds. New York has the first selection, followed by Ottawa, Minnesota, Boston, Montreal, and Toronto. Canadian Olympic star Sarah Fillier is the projected top pick. Still to come, brace yourself for tourists this summer. The airline industry is expecting record numbers of passengers. We'll have more from the B&M Bloomberg newsroom. Foreign interference will be in the spotlight today in the House of Commons. The Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois say allegations about MPs colluding with other countries should be turned over to the Foreign Interference Inquiry. It's a bid to get to the bottom of the revelations. The House of Commons will debate the request today with a vote set for tomorrow. The NDP has already said it will support the proposal. A bombshell report from last week revealed that some MPs have helped foreign states. The government has refused to identify the federal politicians publicly and won't say how many are accused or whether any sit in cabinet.
Well, here's some good news for Canadian tourism. Record numbers of people are expected to fly this summer.
Andrew Bell from B&M Bloomberg has the details.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. If you live in a city loved by tourists, brace yourself for crowds this summer because the world is flying again like it's 2019. From June through August, 10.5 million flights are scheduled globally. The aviation industry expects record passenger numbers. All of that jet fuel consumption is great news for the oil industry, but environmentalists are bemoaning the carbon pollution. Apple faces a crucial test today, proving it can be a force in artificial intelligence. At the company's so-called developers conference, Apple has promised to demonstrate its AI prowess. The company's stock is near record highs, but it has lagged tech rivals amid fears that Apple is at risk of becoming an AI also-ran. And finally, shares in Southwest Airlines rose 7% after outspoken investor Elliott Investment Management demanded new leadership at the company. Elliott called out Chief Executive Bob Jordan and Executive Chairman Gary Kelly, complaining that the two, quote, have spent a combined 74 years at the company, have presided over a period of severe underperformance, and have demonstrated that they're not up to the task of modernizing Southwest. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
Some are calling it the Great Exhaustion.
A recent survey shows cases of employee burnout are on the rise, primarily in younger workers. CTV's Sam Hoot has more.
Life for young professionals can be exhausting.
Housing prices are way too high, food prices are way too high. I'm going broke.
With school and with work, my schedule is very, very busy all the time. I don't seem to be able to get a break, and I do experience burnout on the daily.
Employment agency Robert Half's recent survey shows that half of Gen Z and millennial workers are suffering from burnout.
Traditionally, it's been more healthcare workers, workers working in customer service, people working with people. It's really spilled over into all industries.
A major contributing factor, according to psychology experts, is that Canadians are inundated with information on a daily basis.
What we're seeing is that people are kind of in this neurological state of fight or flight.
Couple that with the uncertainty of job hunting or being new to a position.
It just makes it hard to socialize. It makes it hard to succeed in everything I do, to keep in touch with my family at times.
The good news is there are strategies to reducing burnout. First, it's important to recognize the signs, which can vary from person to person. Prioritizing self-care, including taking a vacation, can help reset stress levels, and even deep breathing exercises, though simple, can have an effect on day-to-day stress.
It's just been exercising, honestly. If you just go and exercise and really sweat it out in whatever way you will, it's helped me.
Go to whatever I can and not be at home worrying about schoolwork or actual work and all that.
Being able to go outside and just kind of disconnect a bit, find some things that you could do where maybe it's alone or just a small group of friends, but just be able to enjoy the little things.
Sam Haupt, CTV News.
Coming up, it's been 80 years since the Second World War veteran has jumped from a plane. Now at age 100, he's getting ready to do it again. We'll tell you why after the break.
How about this? Taking to the skies for the first time in almost 80 years, a 100-year-old Second World War vet will be revisiting his experience in the armed forces as a paratrooper by skydiving this week.
And this time he's sharing the experience with his grandson, who's helping to organize the event in support of Sick Kids Hospital. CTV's Mike Walker has his story.
Are there lots of 100-year-olds here? Do you know?
There's over 50.
Ed Marshall says it's a privilege to have celebrated his 100th birthday this past December.
I think I'm pretty fortunate that I'm that age, and I feel good.
To mark the milestone, Marshall, who was a paratrooper with the Canadian Armed Forces at the end of the Second World War, will once again take to the skies. Marshall will be jumping in tandem with a veteran paratrooper and the support of the Canadian Airborne Regiment. It will be his first jump in nearly 80 years.
I've always wanted to do a high jump and enjoy the trip down floating under a parachute. And I've never had that.
Marshall completed 6 jumps during training and was ready for deployment when the war ended. This time he will be free-falling 12,500 feet, more than double the height when he was a paratrooper.
All my jumps were all low level, and the idea is getting in the ground as fast as possible.
The cause that is motivating him is grander than the leap itself. Dubbed the 100-year jump, he's hoping to raise $100,000 for Sick Kids Hospital.
The older I get, the more I milk with younger kids. And kids are our future, let's face it.
As the past few years, he's started to talk about, you know what, on my 100th birthday, I'd love to get in the air again. I'd love to jump again.
His grandson Bailey is helping organize the initiative.
Through the fundraising effort that we've had, we'll get messages from people. They'll say, I was in Sick Kids Hospital growing up, and they'll also, we have a few donors who have said my child is in Sick Kids care right now. It really, really speaks to people.
Marshall isn't nervous, excited to take to the skies one last time and supporting the next generation.
It's a privilege to have the health to do it.
Marshall will skydive on June 13th in Cayuga. He's already surpassed the halfway mark of his fundraising goal. Mike Walker, CTV News, Toronto.
What an amazing granddad.
Oh my goodness, I hope we're there for that. Ed, I'm terrified just thinking of him jumping. I would never want to do that.
And for the best cause.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
Right? So
Get us caught up on this weather.
Well, you know, today it's just going to be cooler and cloudier than we would maybe like on a June day. We are definitely running below our normals for this time of the year. Let's take a look at our radar and satellite imagery. You can see lots of cloud cover, showers off to the east of the GTA, Bancroft down through Kingston. You'll see those. You know, if you see a few drops out there here and there, I wouldn't be surprised in the GTA, but mostly cloudy. Still sitting at 12 degrees. We are hoping for 17 later on, then 10 degrees overnight. So we're well below our normals, which are 23, 24 this time of the year. A little warmer tomorrow at 20 degrees, more sunshine, 23 for Wednesday, which is where we should be. And then we get that building heat and humidity into the weekend. It's going to feel into the 30s Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday. Maybe some showers and thunderstorms Thursday, Friday.
Not too bad. Thank you, Michelle. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Michelle Jobin and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Dowd. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.